Facebook too. So if at any point anybody either pops in or pops out, I know it's 6 p.m. on a Monday night, so I understand it's probably a busy time in family schedules with dinner time or bedtime for young kids. So I do want to make sure that this resource is available for everybody. That if you need to go by for any means, like please, I'll have video recording of everything. It will be available on Twitch for 2 weeks, on YouTube permanently, and then I will actually also then make sure that it's posted on the resources tab on the WIHSEA website as well. So for those of you that are here, this is essentially just the agenda of what I'm going to go through. I kind of wanted to give everybody a rundown as to what this is going to look like in the fall, because this is going to come pretty quick this year. As we've aligned more with traditional athletic calendars, it means that our start date is going to be the end of September. All of the dates are up to date on the website for this upcoming year. So if you just go out to, and here I can show you right away. All right, if you were to go out here to Smash Brothers and look at, and I need to, actually that should be fine, but so here you have the varsity schedule. Preseason will be September 20th to start for Smash and Smite this fall. Regular season starting on the 27th, and then we'll officially finish on December 10th at Madison College for the state championship. I'll come back to this website quite a bit. I try to make sure that this is your living and breathing document of resources for anything that's available. Just to kind of quickly go through, for those of you that are new to this process, I often get emails that are like, I haven't been able to register. I will be sending out registration likely next week or the week after. I wanted to try to get it out right around freshman orientation time. So those of you that want to promote your programs at the new or for the new students coming into your school, you would have that ability. But what you'll do is you'll get a document that'll be emailed to you that will look very similar to this. This is the spring 22 registration. Just kind of running through it. You can do co-op. So if there's a neighboring school that you would like to work with, for example, we have BSMS, Schulzberg and Broadhead, and I think there's one other school that's available too. But they have 3 schools that co-op together in order to be able to run this together. You can register a co-op. You'll just enter the primary and secondary school information, as well as what cities that they're located in. And we use the traditional athletics enrollment numbers to try to do divisions. We are going to try to do something a little bit different this year that we discussed at the annual meeting. And that's going to be, we are going to collect what athletic conference that you compete in. We're going to be using, I believe, basketball. So just like what conference. So that way we can try to actually align and make sure that you're playing schools that you're already competing in your athletic divisions. And then postseason, it'll be broken down then by division and school enrollment numbers. So that'll be something new that we're working on. As we're basically getting to about 20% of all high schools in the state of Wisconsin are offering and competing in esports. We wanted to make sure that we're trying to align closely with traditional athletics, just to build on some of those existing rivalries that you already have. And then it's also a way in order to kind of help create accountability within that, because athletic directors are always talking about like upcoming matches or what happened at previous matches. And so we want to hopefully see that esports is treated in the same fashion. If you're not a co-op, you would get here, game registration information, just some general contact information that's being collected, coach or advisor. Hopefully many of you are using Discord. This is where 90% of, I think, the major communication takes place. Now I realize that some schools don't offer it. So we are working on finding alternative ways like creating some Google groups and stuff like that in order to get another means of communication. Because I know not everybody checks their email all the time, or you don't check Discord all the time. It will take time to kind of get into the habit of what is your usual means of communication. We'll have a new updated rules and regulation document. We just have a general, are you willing to pay? It's not a requirement, but if you are able to pay $100 for the year, it just helps cover some venues, medals, trophies, and all that other stuff, as well as contributing to some of our scholarship fund for our students that are working either as shoutcasters, graphic designers, or helping us in some form or fashion behind the scenes. So we do offer some sort of internship opportunities for students. So this upcoming year, for example, I am looking for Smash casters, Smite casters. We have a Rocket League one, but then in the spring, we are in need of League of Legends and Valorant. So if you have a student who maybe isn't varsity but would like to get involved in casting, I will take casters and I will get them a scholarship. You'll just register. You can do one varsity team, and then you can do as many JV teams as you can field. Now, the caveat with that is you will have a lot of students show initial interest at the beginning of the year where you maybe have like 24 kids and you're like, I'm going to register 4 JV teams. Just pump the brakes a little bit and maybe start with 2 and rotate players in, because you will quickly find that participation will dissipate a little bit. And then we do have the option that if you have middle school teams, they can compete in JV. And for certain titles, we're actually getting to the point where we can actually have a middle school only division, to where those students aren't playing against high school aged students. It is only middle school teams. But same thing. So there will be 2 titles. We'll have Smash and Smite this fall. As far as rules and regulation, there will be quizzes as well this year. So when you register for Smash and Smite, there will actually be a quiz that you have to take just to ensure that you've read the rules for the game. If you go out onto our website on the resources tab, you'll find the rules and regulation document here. Anytime that a change has been made for the upcoming year, I have highlighted it in yellow. So for example, as we scroll through, here's a new rule that we added because of a previous issue, that we're making an official statement that if a student graduates, say mid-season, we are okay that they finish their season with their team. So that's just an example. It will be highlighted in yellow. Please make sure that you're reading these rule sets. We had a lot of issues last year to where people kind of made up their own rules and both teams agreed to certain things in match, and then there's no way for us to know that that's happening until somebody lets me know at the state championship. So but again, things like emotes, tags, sprays, and dances are all disabled on all titles. It's just it's an unsportsmanlike thing. It's BMing, which is essentially like taunting. We kept the Overwatch rules in, even though we can't officially offer Overwatch. We are working on potentially doing a community event for it. There have been new Smash rules added. We changed the format a little bit. The students in the state were invited to essentially a roundtable discussion to where they voiced their opinion as to what they're seeing in more competitive play, as far as how they want to assign point values to certain matches to try to ensure that the number 1 player is playing for the set that's worth 5 points, as well as then updating stages in order to reflect the current stages that are in competitive play. So there is a little bit of new proceedings that are in there as far as procedure goes, new stages that are there. your game settings should all be the same as they previously were. But I do have a graphic made for this. I'm working on getting it into this document before the end. It's already on Discord, and I'll make sure that it's on the website as well. So I'll try to make sure that it's in every single place possible. But as we're adding new games, there are new rule sets. Fortnite isn't set in stone just yet. I'm still waiting to hear back from the distributor of this material. So none of these are set in stone, but those are winter titles. So hopefully we don't have to worry too much about those just yet. So quickly stating, that is the registration. So in about 2 weeks, I'll start to send out the registration documents as well as the rule quizzes that are associated with both games. Now, if you're not competing with both games, you don't have to complete both of them. Whichever game that you're competing in, you'll have to complete the quiz in order to complete your registration. As far as organizing your program, Ben Johnson joining us today has been helpful using his graduate studies in order to help create some documentation for us. So Ben put together this presentation, this course that is available on our website. It covers everything from essentially starting a brand new program to a coaching tutorial, and I wanted to give Ben a minute to just kind of give the highlights and overview of the course that he created. So Ben, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. So, as Mike said, I'm in a graduate program and I wanted to create something useful as one of my projects. So going into this, my goal was just to create a useful coaching tutorial, especially aimed at newer coaches trying to get you acquainted with coaching esports compared to other sports. So you can see sort of what this goes over here as far as growing your team. A large portion of it focuses on the inclusive environment, positive culture. As many of you who are aware, and video games have a lot of toxicity in them, so it covers that, as well as promoting your program and connecting with colleges. So, especially if you're newer, it's aimed to help you just get a little bit more acquainted with esports and prepare to coach it. So, and then, yeah, you can find it on the How to Start a Program page for the WIHSEA website. I don't want to take too much of your time, but if you're interested, look through it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Ben. Appreciate it. I'm going to find it. So on top of that, we have also been working on another living document that you can find on the website, that if you go under the resources tab, you'll see next to rules and regulation, there is another presentation here. And this has been essentially every coach that oversees a program has been contributing to this document in order to create hopefully a lot more resources for everyone. So if I just quick open this up. It covers everything as far as rules and regulation. We have a school logos collection. So if you are somebody that is streaming, or if you're not, I do ask that you upload a PNG graphic of your school logo. So that way anybody that is streaming your game can use the correct logo, and just make sure that you're using the right resources. That is available. So if you need to pull any assets for your stream, we should have all the logos available. Discord 101, how to set up your roster, as well as everything from like social media marketing, graphic design, how to stream. Some of these are still works in or in the works, that we're trying to create videos in order to go ahead and add these on there that can give you rundowns of just simply like how should you be marketing your program on social media. We have some schools that are really, really big on the social media marketing component. For me, it's connecting it to coursework that I'm already teaching students. So I love connecting what's in the classroom to our esports teams. We have everything for game rules as well as additional material. So to give you an example, we'll go to Overwatch. Let's go to Smash. But Smash Bros. Right, it's gonna go through the game overview, kind of give you an idea. Here's the new graphic that I am working on getting available on the website and all the other locations. So that is there. We have the procedure. So these are the rules again in another place. Just trying to constantly reiterate, making sure that we're following the rules. Down to this was a pending format, so we even covered our conditional clauses that if we were going to switch to crew battles, that we already started putting together documentation, as well as then now you have Smash terminology. So we've found some quality YouTube videos that you can use that just kind of run down just basic game understanding, things like recoveries or edge guarding or using your dodge or whatever it may be. We're trying to give you more resources in order to help.
Hi there, it's your boy, Banana.
Okay, thank you, Banana. But again, everything down to even attributes of certain characters in the game, how they play, which stages should that they play on, advantages, pros, and cons associated with each character and their moves and abilities. So we have been working on trying to get more of these resources in place for those of you who probably have never played many of these games, and we realize that that's sometimes a little bit intimidating for somebody to take on. So we are trying to help give additional resources to those of you who need it. And even myself, I've learned quite a bit from the Smash community, helping put some of this stuff together this summer. So that is available also on the website. The big one that I usually get asked for this upcoming year is how are you running practices? I just sent an email today. Kevin Palmer and Carthage College organized a fantastic coaches clinic with like 10 different collegiate directors from across the country last week. It was free. He put all of the video recordings into a Google Drive folder, and I shared that out to everybody. It's also in the Discord under the coaches resource document. But they talk about how they're scheduling practices, scrimmages, and all that other fun stuff. Depending on the game, the way that I usually run practice is for Smash Brothers, we run just in-house tournaments, and we try to break down what happened after each matchup, as well as then students will actually help each other, saying like, you picked Bowser into this character, and then you picked a stage that had no platforms, and this is why that's not advantageous for Bowser in that matchup, and why you just should be trying to do A, B, and C, or like he's going to be doing this move and this move. What you need to do is try to shield and counter this, and then do this. And so it's great that we try to break down the in game as to what's happening, so that way students can try to improve. As far as Smite goes, we usually try to get in. We do usually a warm-up game if there's time before our scheduled match, or if we're meeting on practice day. My Smite team will probably be practicing Monday, Tuesday, matches on Wednesday. And then we do a VOD review of our stream on Thursday and try to analyze what went well, what didn't go well, and how we need to improve for future weeks. And then occasionally, too, we'll try to organize a scrimmage against another school. For the state championship last year, we scrimmage Racine Case every week. It was about a month straight that we would scrimmage and play against them to try to prepare to play Clinton in the finals if we had made it that far. But we ended up having to play Clinton in the semifinals. So we were constantly working with another team to try to improve our chances. We kind of coordinated, like, we want to try to improve our duo lane. So we're going to be running this. Please don't ban these. We want to try to make sure that these get through, and just kind of coordinated between teams what we were trying to do. You can do the same thing for Smash. If your players want to practice against each other, it totally works. You can just set up a lobby and invite them and just kind of go back and forth. as far as when it comes to team captains, um, in my program, a lot of what I'm looking for is the student that's going to help me out the most. Um, with running multiple teams, as well as sometimes having after school meetings that we have to attend to. My captain is usually the one that is often the most responsible on the team, that the teammates listen to. So when he says, like, we need to get in, we need to practice and warm up, they listen to them. Um, it's just who's gonna kind of herd the cats while I'm away, essentially. And it's not always the individual that has the most in-game knowledge or the highest rank in the game to be the team captain. It's a lot of just personality, and we have some great captains in my program to where I don't have to do anything. Like, they can set up a match. I give them the contact for the enemy team captain. The other ones go in, they'll set up the live stream and be ready to go, and I can just kind of sit and watch the game, or I can actually sit in the room and try to coach some of our players through Smite. Smash, I can't coach. But again, I leave it up to our players to try to help each other out in that sense. So it's kind of up to you how you want to choose who your team captain is. But believe me, you can rely on that individual to step up and try to help take some of the coordination off of your plate. To me, that's the big thing, as well as setting the expectation of what is acceptable behavior. That's usually a big one, especially in the first few weeks. Setting that environment and making sure that the expectations are clear for code of conduct and behavior. With the season rapidly approaching, preparing your IT department is really important. Again, this is available on the website. This is right under the How to Start a Program. This is the document that I have likely sent to many of you if this is your first time. Here you can already see the dates for varsity. JV is always on Thursdays for both games. But if you scroll down to pages 3 through 6, you have the recommended PC requirements for what you're going to need, as well as then network settings to connect. Your game clients will need to connect to servers. They may need to connect to a chat client so students can talk in game to each other. It may even just need to be able to update automatically, or have your IT schedule these ports to be opened at a certain time so that way they're not unblocked all day. There are various creative ways that you can install these games and keep them locked down during the school day so students can't access them. But Rocket League has a ton of settings in order to port forward and whitelist IP addresses and various websites that they need to go to in order for it to work. Smash, I'm going to be honest with everybody here. It's very difficult to get the Nintendo Online to function correctly on your school, and it is very hard for me to give you any documentation because we could have the exact same network, the exact same settings, and I may have a NAT type D and you have a NAT type A. And you have to have a NAT type B or better to join online lobbies. So if you want to compete, you have to have a type B connection. And I recommend that if you have a switch at school, start testing it now. Go into your settings, run your internet connectivity check, and it will give you a NAT type that you have, and it needs to be B or better. If you're struggling, if you're at like a C, don't use the Wi-Fi. If you can buy a $20 network adapter, connect an Ethernet cable on there, it's been an improvement for NAT types, and it's also an improvement on lag. Nintendo's netcode is not the greatest, and you will run into some laggy lobbies here and there. Especially what we have learned is that it's very common that when some people try to have a student play remotely from home, is when we often experience a lot of lag issues, because at schools we're talking, we're all on probably fiber connections and whatnot. So there should not be much latency in some of these games, but you can really tell at home connectivity. Andrew, to your question, yes, you can check it on the Switch. So if you just go to the home screen, to the settings button, there should be an internet portion on the menu, and then you can do like a check network settings, and it will actually tell you what is your up and down speed as well as what your NAT type is. We are all expected to be playing from school, unless you have a homebound student, and then we do still have some issues because COVID is still a thing. So if there is a situation to where a student, if whatever your district policy is, that they need to be at home quarantining, then that's something that we take into consideration, because esports is at least unique that if that is the case, my district policy says that that student can still compete remotely and participate remotely in the event, as long as I am in communication with them. So it does depend on district to district policy. We try not to govern every policy because so many schools have their own policies that may slightly differ. Oh, yes. Approved venues are acceptable. I know some of you have been using Tier 1. The Racine schools use Not Your Parents' Basement. And I know some of the Green Bay schools are hopefully using Edge VR. And it sounds like there may or may not be a gaming lounge coming to the Madison area as well. So if you're looking, there is that opportunity as well. So the firewall and everything, get that document over to your IT, and just for the beginning, I would say start testing your Switch. I'm sure they have a ton on their plate getting ready in the final month to go before school here, but if you can do that, I highly recommend it. So I'm gonna run through what a daily competition looks like. And there's going to be some additional documents that are going to be sent out right around time of registration as well. But the usual question is, so when it comes to September 20th, and it's that preseason week where we're trying to get your first game in so that you can test your network and test your equipment to make sure that it's working properly, as well as testing the commitment of your students. You'll be able to find match information available on the website. So if I were to go here to Smash, we'll go to the drop down, you'll be able to see that there is the fall schedule. And if you scroll down, depending on what division that you may be in, you'll be able to find your week 1 schedule. The home team is here. The home team is responsible for initiating communication with the away team. They are responsible for setting up the lobby and the match, and then inviting the away team to that lobby in order to compete. So here, if this were the example, Madison West will be in charge of reaching out to Racine Horlick. And the way that they would do that is one of the other documents that you will be sent is going to be the roster document. And so this is what it will look like. So these will all be deleted. You'll have to create a duplicate of this template and create it for your school. So for example, here are all of the instructions to follow in order to get your school listed here. But you'll just duplicate this template, put in your necessary information as well as your athletic director. This is where then you can get the away team's contact information. So that way you can either start to email them. And we do try to recommend that you email out 24 hours in advance. Just so that way there's time to coordinate it. The way that I do it is on Monday, I reach out to every school that we're playing for the week. That way we can start to come to an agreement on what time that we can play or what our earliest availability is in order to play. Um, for example, we're done at 2:35, so we could start playing at 3 o'clock if the other school's available as well. But I know some schools are traveling to alternative locations, or they don't get out until 3:45 or whatever it is. Um, so it's just then I can inform my players that yes, you have time to go to Casey's and get a slice of pizza or whatever, or that if you wanted to get your warm ups in or go to another club or organization activity for a little bit after school, that you can do so. Um, and then if the coach doesn't acknowledge your communication after you've emailed them, maybe you've called them or you've hit them up on Discord, and you still have no communication back, you then have the athletic director's number that says, hey, we have a scheduled match for this afternoon, and I have not heard back from the esports advisor. Can you please put me in contact with them, or is something the matter? So on and so forth. If you put their first and last name in, that's all the student information that we may need, as well as then their Epic ID. So this is for Rocket League that I'm showing you. Smash Brothers will be different, to where you could just put in your generic esports account, whatever that may be. So for Elkhorn, we have EAHS Esports. That's our generic Switch account that all the students will be playing from. For a Rocket League, you can put that in. They usually have a number that's associated with them as well for you to search them up. Smite, you can just put in their player account. But what I'm trying to do is then also put a link here on the template that for you to go ahead and check. You should be able to copy the IGN that was in there, go onto this website, and say type that user in, and you should be able to get their profile. So this is my profile for Rocket League. You can check, you can see my rank, you could see how I've been doing. You can see all this type of information, as well as like you could go to Smite Guru. And so here, if I search my account, again, you just type in their username, you'd then be able to go ahead and then get all of my information. And why this is smart, or why this is nice, I should say, for competitive play, is we could go and now we can scout the enemy team. So if we were to look at Smite, for example, I as the coach can go through and search all of these players up, and we can see here like, oh, Dolly is known for playing Bologna and Ymir. He's got a lot of games on both. Maybe we want to try to ban one of those gods that he plays. Or maybe we're saying, oh, we know that they're going to lock Ymir in. What are we going to play into it? And so it actually really helps with draft strategy, developing team compositions, and just if you want to target their best player, you could spend all of your bans on that player to hopefully then try to give your team an advantage in the rest of the game. So these stats are really nice to be able to go ahead and look at. You can use, and I'll make sure that there's websites that you can look all of this information up. So you can double check those, because if it's not accurate, it is in the rules that if it's an incorrect IGN or they play from an IGN that isn't listed, then they're not eligible to play. If a student is not on this roster document by 9 a.m., they are not eligible to play that afternoon, because then that doesn't give the opposing team time to scout the other team. It's in the rule set. We have had instances as well that students rename their accounts. Please ask them to not rename their accounts during the year, because it could cost your team a forfeit. If they all of a sudden go from Johnny Smith 123 to Squeaky Ducks 123, and they play from that account, but it's not listed on the roster, a team's not going to know that that's who it is. and it's essentially a fault, and could cost a game. Also, please make sure that your students have appropriate usernames. Double check those. And if you have questions on them, maybe go to your athletic director and say, like, is this okay to represent our school? And then read off the username and let them go ahead and make that decision, because there are some that are questionable. And then here you can see that on the template, we'll have all of your weeks kind of organized. And then we have some statistics that we're trying to collect. Now, this is up to you in order to go ahead and collect these. However, I will say that we have been using them now for multiple means. For example, we do use them for all conference and all state submissions. So if you want your player recognized for being the all-state MVP, they were the best Smite player or Rocket League player in the state in your division, you have to have some stats to back it up. We usually do about 60-40, where it's 60% stats weighing in and then 40% being that of a write-up. We do that formula because we don't want certain players to run up the score and intentionally inflate their statistics. So it's also just a way that we can try to then recognize students for being standouts for their craft, essentially. I think that, after your match is done, only the winning team needs to report the results. And if you go onto our website, we have a match reporting form here. So these will be updated, but here you can see, like, if we were to do Rocket League, say we were in Division 1, we can just open up this form. If we were collecting responses, you would choose like what week that you were, who the winning team was, which should be your team, because only the winning team submits it, and then what was the overall score of the game. Like we won 3-2, or 4-1 or 5-0 or whatever it may be. And then you would then be able to go ahead and see the standings are automatically updated from a script here. So the second that you report it in match reporting, this form will automatically update the record and the standings. So, and I know the students check these to make sure that matches are reported. I get a lot of messages from students saying like, "Hey, why didn't Waukesha South report their match yet? Like, we want to know the results." And so then that usually leads to me having to reach out to somebody and say like, "Hey, just checking, did you play your match? If you did, please don't forget to submit it." And then the other form that we ask that you submit after each match is a post-match evaluation. And this is just a way for us in order to, number one, identify schools that maybe are having issues with either unsportsmanlike conduct, if they're having, if they're not showing up to matches in a timely fashion, if they're very uncoordinated. It gives us, and I check this form once a week to just kind of see where we're at. We then also use it in order to recognize one school each competitive season for the Sportsmanship Award. Those schools that are setting the bar of expectation for participation, that they are being, professional, punctual, friendly, they're coordinated, etc. And so that's usually, we try to make sure that that's a big award. In the past, we've had sponsors that have donated jerseys or donated peripherals to the school. Just something that says like, hey, we value what you're doing and the bar that you're setting for the school. So, and we even make sure that that we do recognize the school that wins every year or every season, because it is important that we're removing toxicity out of gaming. It is a big initiative with everything that we do. It's why we've disabled sprays and tags and emotes. we don't think that it has any value added, and does nothing but deter people from participating. So we want to make sure that esports is an accepting space for everyone, unless you're toxic. Last section that usually comes up is essentially streaming. I know, and I know just kind of looking in the group here, some of you are returning programs. I just wanted to be able to kind of give you a rundown of how easy streaming may be, and then I'll open it up for questions and answers. I love getting streaming involved in our programs because it gives more students an opportunity to participate. Streaming can be really, really easy. It does not have to be overly complex. There are 3 platforms that you can use. I'm using OBS. So to kind of give you an example here, this is OBS. I can switch scenes here to whatever I want, and I can add these. And this is a little bit more complex. Streamlabs is another available option for you. It's a little bit more of a user-friendly version of it, that you don't need as much experience. There's not a huge learning curve with it. If you want to do a lot with OBS, if you actually go onto our resources tab, we do have a shortcut link here to your school logos for streaming if you need them. I also have a Streamlabs tutorial video on how you can set these up, and it's very simple. But if you scroll all the way down here, this is the master class that's put out by OBS. So this is like an entire production curriculum that is available for free, that if you wanted to go ahead and use that, you could. There is a lot with it. Another very, very easy tool is just StreamYard.com. It's very easy to set up. You can just create a broadcast and do new broadcasts, and I can choose where it's going to go. Once, of course, it loads, I'm just going to go ahead and stop my camera and my microphone. But you can add your screen share here. So if you're going to take up your whole screen, you could just screen cap whatever's on it, and you could live stream it to your school's YouTube channel. And it's literally that easy. And you don't have to worry about much. There's not going to be much for like overlays or anything like that, or adding to the production value, but it's that easy in order to stream games like Smite, Rocket League, League of Legends, and Valorant. Streamlabs and StreamYards and OBS, they all connect to your YouTube or Twitch account if you want to stream. If you want to do a Switch, you will need to, or if you want to stream your Smash games, you would need to buy a capture card, like an Elgato. They're about $180. It takes a little bit more in order to get those situated. But again, once you start looking at casting, now you can start bringing in graphic design, and you can have students developing overlays or assets for your stream. You can have students doing the play-by-play commentary. It's something that I have students that literally fight over who gets to cast for the week. And they always want to be like essentially on the analyst desk doing play-by-play, which is awesome. It's giving them another avenue in order to get connected and to develop some of those real-world skills that we're trying to do. As well as if they're learning to set up some of the more complex streams, there's a lot of networking material that's involved in there, like understanding your bit rate, your connection speed, servers that you're connecting to for better bandwidth, and just organizing all of that material that kind of goes behind the scenes. So it is very easy to coordinate that material. And if you have questions, if you need help, you want to start to get involved with that, I'm always here in order to help. I've tried to create some video assets as well for you. And I will say one thing that I do recommend that all of you do is get just a Twitter account or an Instagram account for your team. Not only in order to publicize what you're doing for your program, but also in order to help start drawing some additional attention for your students. 90% of esports lives on Twitter. I get a lot of colleges that are reaching out to our school esports Twitter account, asking to create that initial connection with certain students that they're interested in potentially recruiting. I've had back-to-back years of having students receive scholarships to go play at the collegiate level. And as more and more Wisconsin schools are now getting on board, every UW system has a club team. We have Carthage, Edgewood, Lakeland, and Concordia in the state that are offering scholarships to go compete. I know UW River Falls just hired one of the top high school coaches in the country to go be the director for their program there. Madison College and the rest of the JUCOs all have esports teams or are in the process of developing them, so that way students have essentially a pipeline to move forward. But just a few simple social media posts about upcoming matches or where to find the streams. It's all that needs to be done in order to market and just get a little bit of extra publicity for what you and your students are doing. Yeah, so I do want to try to be respectful of everybody's time. I realize it's a Monday night, so that's essentially the rundown that I have of just onboarding everything. I know that I threw a bunch at you. You're drinking from the fire hose here tonight, but I did want to make sure that I opened the last little bit up here, and I can stick around for as long as possible. That if any of you have questions, I'm here to answer them, as well as if any of you are watching on Twitch or YouTube or any of those other platforms. If you just post on the chat feature there, I will get your direct questions as well. So if you have no questions, the night is yours. Otherwise, if you have questions, let them rip. Have a good night, Andrew.
I'll probably be back on the 8th again, and may have formulated some questions by then, but I need to digest this and look through those documents. So
Okay. If you need anything, I am off for all of August, so I'm here to make any phone call that you need. So
it's actually a lot more daunting than I had expected it to be. So, but I'm looking forward to this. Sounds really fun.
Sounds good.
Mostly, I'm worried about dealing with just a mass of students initially interested, and then whittling that down to the team, I guess. So that'll be fun.
Do you know which games? Like, I assume that you're probably going to do. You said Smash was a big one for
Just
your.
doing Smash in the fall here as our sort of our opener.
So
we're doing a tech test on the 17th. So.
Okay. On Mondays, we usually run an in-house tournament. You can just set up a bracket, any bracket that you wish, or even in Smash, they have a bracket maker that will randomly, it'll randomly seed all of your players too.
Is there a website that it has that, or?
It's right in Smash. It's
Smash?
Yep.
Okay.
There's like a tournament option as they're getting in that they can set up like 15 participants, 32 participants.
Got it.
And then what a lot of programs will do is either your top 5 from that tournament are who participate that week. So every Monday, it's just like a big community tournament. There are other programs that will say the top 4 are the ones that represent, with the 5th one is coach's pick. So you get to determine like, hey, there's that kid that's kind of always on the cusp of JV varsity or shows up to every practice. I
Yeah.
want to make sure that they get a chance
No,
to
I
play.
don't plan to run a JV. We're not required to have a JV, right?
Nope, nope,
Okay.
nope.
I think for year one we just do a varsity team. I want to ease in a little bit to start with, and then does the same person run them both? Then you don't need a second coach for that, do you? Or when you get multiple games, multiple varsity JV, do you start to need additional adults, or can the one handle it?
It depends on the school. We have some that have like individual game coaches for each game,
Yeah.
just because of the expertise of the individual for the game itself. For me, I'm at school Monday through Thursday every day until about 5 p.m. after school, helping with teams,
Yep.
running practices, helping with the stream, and kind of so on and so forth. So for 10 months, I live at school. Like I really need to just bring a cot, because
So to stream from the Switch, we just need this. I wrote it down.
capture card.
Capture card, $180. Did you say Elgato?
Yeah,
How do you spell that?
like Spanish for the cat.
Oh, El
El gato, yeah.
Gato. Okay, I get it. All right.
So,
I
they're
didn't
on.
take Spanish in school, so I'll find it. All right, I think that's it for now. I'll probably have more possibly.
It looks like actually some of them are on sale.
Oh, cool.
So like this is the one that we have at school. So for $150.
So that attaches the TV, and then the TV connects the computer.
So we basically, yes. So like we run to one of our projectors in our classroom.
Yep.
So we plug in the projector into one end of the Elgato, and then the other one into the projector. But then it's got like a USB-C cord that comes out of it, and the USB side connects to the computer, and so it's pulling from there straight to the video card.
That's something we'll probably not worry about necessarily on rollout day, but maybe partway through, I'll look into that.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna take off then.
Okay.
Thank you for all the info.
No problem.
Oh, good, man.
Must be getting better at this. So.
Yeah, I do think, like the organization that you guys have kind of corralled this into like this Google Doc with hyperlinks, which is always nice, and then the resource page. I've always directed like the new teachers or new schools to our resource page. Yeah, I think it's good. I like that thing that Ben put together. I'm gonna go through that and see what that's all about.
It's good. I think eventually one thing that I would like to do, and I just got to find a way in order to do it, is I would love to make a SCORM file, like to launch onto an LMS or to store on an LMS, and then that way I could actually register, and we could just do most of our communication actually via an LMS portal. Because
Right.
we could in-house all of the chat features, we could host all like the forums and documents that are in there.
For sure.
And then we don't have to worry about outside organizations getting a hold of, or being access to certain documents and stuff. So,
Do you think, and I don't know as far as, I guess, private, like Canvas is one that came to mind, but I don't know if you can do like a non-profit. Like I guess I don't know what that would look like for Canvas and creating user accounts and stuff.
it's a question mark, one that I don't have all the time to go answer. I mean,
No,
I'm sure I could, I could spin up like a Blackboard or a Moodle since those are free. I could.
you could.
I
I was
could.
gonna say you could,
I could.
but
Yeah.
no. No, man, don't throw more stuff on your docket, especially with the school year approaching and after doing the summer school stuff. But yeah, like I said, that summer school thing that you did was pretty spectacular. So congrats on that. I'm excited, and I think I mentioned I looked into that. What is it? eFuse.
Yeah.
STEM Fuse, yeah, esports. So I might be doing the just esports 101 through distance learning. Um, so
I've gone through their curriculum, and I think STEM Fuse has a lot of great curriculum that's in there. And like I've used their video game design course
okay,
before, um, even before they've branched out into esports. Um, I think that it's a good quality product. Um,
I've looked at the demo that they sent me, and I've gone through a few things. Um, I do like how, I guess, I mean there's some components that were in depth, but I do like how, in a way, how superficial it was, because then it could like really touch base on several different avenues and not just playing video games.
mhm.
So yeah, I'm excited about it. I think I'm gonna run it in the spring, um, through distance learning.